up until about 24 hours, no, 36.
And you told me it was 36 hours later.
So 36 hours. I woke up around 5:30 in the morning.
What day was it?
It would have been, she was born on a Tuesday because I had Monday off, so it would have been Monday morning because she was born Tuesday evening or Sunday morning into Tuesday. I gotta check the calendar. But it was Labor Day weekend, and I think it was Labor Day when I actually started labor because that was big already of it all. So yes, we'll say it was a Monday morning, and it was around 5:30, and I was used to waking up that time to go pee because goodness gracious, babies make you have to pee. And instead I got up because it felt like someone had, how Dave Barry put it, punched the inside of your uterine wall while wearing skis with ski poles aimed at the edges.
Oh, yeah.
And since it happened, I'm like, yo, because I'd been worried this whole time that I had missed out on the Braxton Hicks contractions. You're supposed to have them for a month or two leading up, so you're ready. And I hadn't had one, and I'd be like, am I just not knowing it? And then that happened, I'm like, whoa, that's a contraction. Okay, now I know. And then it sat at 15 minutes apart for 24 plus hours. It was the most upsetting delay. It didn't get any faster, so the hospital's like, you don't need to come in. I'm like, pretty sure I do. I'm miserable. After 12 hours of every 15 minutes having that.
But did they not offer to break your water cord?
Well, that was after we were in there for a few hours. And we didn't go to the hospital until 10 minutes apart. And then it just stayed that way until they started me on Pitocin. Then everything went zoom speedy, and it was wonderful, except really painful. And that's when my ideas of a natural childbirth went right out the window. Let's see. So spent the day wandering around, doing errands, getting a computer at Sears, and watching I had a watch that was Dopey of the Seven Dwarfs. It was his face. And watching Dopey every 15 minutes tell me,
The Disney
yep,
watch.
you had another one. Yep, you had another one covered in paint, by the way, because I'd been painting apartments. So it had paint flecks all over. It was not a good condition to watch anymore. And we went to Cat Tales to pick up a desk for the new computer. And Grandpa drew on me.
Oh yeah, the cut here button. Or cut here mark, yeah.
He did that for your shower. Remember the shower we had at Buffalo?
Oh, that was before then.
Yeah, and I've got a picture of you sitting in the rocking chair.
I have that picture somewhere.
So, but he did say he had commentary, of course, being father. I think he shouted at you to get out. Something like that. Time to come out. And so we picked up the desk and we went home and set up the computer, and I just sat on the couch being miserable and trying to be enthusiastic about the new computer. And then around 8:30, it occurred to us we hadn't had dinner, and so some chicken de bon was made. And I ate about 2 bites, and I was just miserable and didn't want to eat anymore.
You're not supposed to eat during labor anyway.
Well, if it's going to last hours, you might as well eat the energy. During delivery, you're not supposed to eat. And then finally, around 2 in the morning, it hit close enough to 10 minutes apart that I was like, we're going. This is horrible. I'm not doing this anymore. And we drove to the hospital. That was the only time that the Duggar had driven through any of this. And that was stressful enough. I almost wish I could have done that. And then they questioned checking us in, but they saw in my eyes I was not leaving. So they went ahead and checked us in. And then they informed me what I already knew, that my midwife was on vacation. And I said, oh, I know she is. Because I didn't meet her until last month. She had already booked that vacation. And so they let me know we'd have whatever doctor was on hand, which ironically made me think of, you know, the movie Knocked Up? And when she's having the baby, the Asian doctor that has no bedside manner. He was one of them, but I went through a few shifts of people.
So how far effaced were you when they checked you in?
I want to say it was like 2 centimeters.
Oh, geez.
I mean, they did not. They were like, you don't need to be here right now. And I was just arguing. I'm like, I'm not going back home. This is, I've had nothing until now. This is a sign that body's ready. I don't know. Not leaving. And so we spent from, by the time we were all checked in and in the room, it was about 3 in the morning. And I don't think it was until about 3 in the afternoon before they started giving me Pitocin. Because I was slowly, the contractions were just slowly getting closer together, but not enough to do anything. And they were like, well, we can't just let her sit here miserable. Let's speed it up. So they gave me that drip in an IV, which you don't realize anything's bad, and then all of a sudden the contractions started happening, making the first ones feel real gentle. And I was like, I don't know what you gave me, but I'm not happy. And then I started cursing, I think.
Did they break your water?
At some point, yeah. I shot the table a couple times. I know that. And then at some point, someone came in and shut the door because people were tired of hearing me curse.
Oh, jeez.
Down the hall. And then someone came in, I think it might have been a nurse, and said, I know you said you wanted to do this natural, but you might actually I'm just letting you know we have. I'm like, do it. And they rolled me on my side and told me to sit very still so they could inject a big needle into my spine. And I was like, just do it.
Oh, you had the spinal. That Pam had those.
Yeah. I went from feeling
I never had those.
So painfully miserable to, we're good. And they're like, you just had another contraction. I'm like, cool. I was watching the monitor to see it because I wasn't feeling shit anymore.
Oh, my goodness.
But I mean, I felt much better. I was like, it was not here. It was simply a pain block from boom, they're down.
Right.
Zero pain. But again, I had to watch the monitor to watch the contractions because it would speed up my heart rate and her heart rate. Actually, yours slowed down. And they had some oxygen moment for a while because they were worried about both of us. I remember that. This isn't a very good, story narrative, by the way. Hope you weren't expecting that.
You were at Valley General?
No, Sacred Heart.
Sacred Heart. Okay, well, that's right, because we had our multi-generational picture there.
Sam and I were born at Sacred Heart, and both of us had the same midwife who was on vacation for both of our births.
Oh, that is
I thought
hilarious.
Sharon delivered Sam.
No,
Okay.
not that I was told. I was told she missed both our births.
So then after that happened, the contractions and the Pitocin together, that all started speeding up a lot, which was very lovely. And then it went really quick from there. And then I know it was around 6 or 7 p.m. is when you were born. I want to say 7:14 if I were to look it up. But it was evening. And then they were like, all right, you're done. You can go into the post-delivery room, which is where you'll sleep and rest, and we'll bring baby. And I said, great. And I flung back the covers. And my momentum of my upper body managed to get my legs over the edge and onto the ground. So I still had no idea that there was still zero feeling. And I shot off the edge of the bed, and my feet hit the floor because I was watching, but I didn't feel it. And I just went down.
Hi, Lisa.
Right next to the bed, I grabbed the edge, and I'm like, so that's why I feel great. And then they came and got me into a wheelchair and took me into my room. At this point, we've now called and started telling people, hey, it happened. There's another one of us. And at the same time, we're watching the fire out in the valley slowly spread to where we think we live, going, the new computer's over there. And it was really the only thing of value besides your crib. But it was where we were hoping to take you. And so that was a little nerve-wracking because there were a lot of fires that summer. That's okay. And then family members started rolling in to say hi. And I remember Laura asking to spend the night, and that was right about when the donor decided he wanted to go home and check the computer. And so... well, no, he wanted to do that, and so Laura offered to spend the night so I wouldn't be alone in the hospital with the new baby. And Ryan drove the donor home, but then, of course, he immediately changed his mind and decided he wanted to come back and made issues for everyone to have to get back. So that part was annoying.
Sounds weird.
But I remember distinctly when Grandma and Grandpa Weich came by, and Grandma Weich whispering in my ear, "Welcome to the club." And I thought, that's a weird thing to say, but I kind of get it better the older we all get. And then Grandpa Joe showed up right as we were getting ready to leave because he had driven all night, and showed up and did a roll of pictures, a whole full roll, because back then it was still a roll of pictures. And when he ran out of film, he said, all right, I got to get going. I got to work. And he got back in his car and drove back to Marysville to go to work.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
That was nice.
That was very sweet.
Was that his first grandchild?
Yep. And took all the pictures to go back, and they came over and brought the car seat and stuff too. Well, we were on Chad's birthday, so just like a week and a half before they'd been over.
Okay.
that little yellow outfit that your sister also wore home from the hospital because that was fun. And marveled at your cute hair and marveled at the nurses all arguing about who got to wash your hair when you were born because you actually had hair to wash. Not just peach fuzz, but an inch long jet black. We're going to wash baby's hair. And they had a lot of fun doing that. And then they gave me a little concern that you might be a little jaundiced, which didn't surprise me because I had to take iron pills through my whole pregnancy. And sure enough, after your first, what is it, like a week checkup, is the first one for babies or whatever, and that's back at the hospital, and then they were like, yeah, you need to make sure she's covered. And then your first poop after a couple days, I called the doctor. I said, I have babysat a lot. And so here's my concern. I've never babysat a baby that pooped cottage cheese mixed with the poop. Is that okay? And they're like, how old is this child? And I'm like, yeah, 24 hours old. And they're like, oh yeah, that's totally normal. By the way, the pee might come out pink too. I'm like, what? And they're like, well, I mean, the whole body was under immense pressure, and so there could be some blood in the urine and it will come out, but don't worry unless it gets obviously red. And so I'm like looking at your first few diapers going, no one prepared me for this. And I thought I was on the ball prepared about diapers. I was like, whatever, no big deal. But yeah, having the texture, I was not ready for. Let's see.
What about the first time you got to hold her? And was that right after labor?
Oh yeah, right after. And immediately to start to nurse. And then I remember that happening too and thinking, well, I don't need to have them come teach me that. Evidently she's got it figured out, which was awesome.
You're welcome.
And you nursed very well, and then they let you come in and sleep in the little plastic bed next to my bed for the night. And I was fine with that because I had decided maybe if they let you go out of my sight, you'd do one of those stories where they swap babies or just steal babies. And
Why? You're so cute.
Because you were adorable, so much hair, you were so noteworthy.
Is this the way to the one? Yes, it is. I'm pretty sure it would have been really hard for them to swap a baby, though.
There was a lot of that in the news in the 80s. And
Okay,
90s.
yes, but one that with the same hair?
Well, they'd figured it out, so they would now ban. You were banded wrist and ankle, and then both parents banded. So if those didn't match when it was time to head out the door, then baby couldn't leave the door with you. So, and you had very long feet, so long,
Okay.
like you were wearing 2-month-old socks on newborn feet because they would. I put the newborn socks we had on you, and they would go bing and fly right off because they couldn't even wrap under your ankle. They just
That's weird.
didn't fit. I used to have big feet for a baby.
Okay.
Let's see.
And you took her home on which day? The day
It
after?
would have been, I had her on a Tuesday, so I took her home Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
And then
Because you have to stay for 24 hours.
yes. Well, theoretically, that's probably fine print. You can read up and find out, you don't And then we got home, and I crashed out of sleep, and then Dad came for another visit that I totally missed because I was asleep on the couch and you were in the crib. But according to the donor, Dad just came and sat there and stared at you in your crib for like 20 minutes. And then came out and looked at me sleeping and gave me a kiss and left.
That's.
Then I woke up and I was like, wait, Dad was here? Which is part of the reason I came down on him so hard when I found out that Riley had been a week and he hadn't even gone to visit yet. I was so mad.
What happened?
When Riley was born and Dad, it had been like
yeah.
a week and Dad hadn't even bothered to go and see it. And then Laura tells me this by phone.
Yeah.
And I called Dad up and I'm like, I am going to get on a plane and come punch you in the face. He is named after you and you haven't even done them the courtesy to meet your grandson. So angry. But
So then how long before you went back to work?
1 week. Well, Monday.
A week? Yes, it had been a week from when you went into labor.
Yeah.
She's
Shortest
a lunatic.
maternity leave ever. Well, I was worried I was going to lose my job. I took you over
And then you lost your
on
job.
Thursday to meet Abby, and Abby thought you were beautiful. And she was such a tough, mean, grouchy, crotchety woman, but she came out of her house, and you just watched that face fall away, and you just, oh, and can I hold? And she thought you were just dreamy and the bee's knees. And then, yeah, by Friday, I got a call from her saying that if it was at all possible, because because she'd already heard from her boss I might want to try and be there Monday, so I was there Monday.
And then they fired you anyway.
After 1 month. I worked a nice solid month, never missed a day of work, did my regular schedule, right back to regular duties, but it just struck him the wrong way that I did not tell them I was going to have a baby, which technically you do not have to do.
No.
God, you could have sued so easily.
Oh, I know. We talked to attorneys, and then we were just young and overwhelmed and looking for housing, and that had to take priority. Like, I'd love to see you, but I need a job and somewhere to live, so I guess we'll do that. But yes, in retrospect, if I had held out, I could have stayed in there, and then they could have bought us a house.
Right.
So illegal. But our boss was a jerk anyway, though. Abby's boss, I guess. I'll try and I'll put together a written version that's better scripted and delivered the way Mom delivers. Because then I can take all my ideas and put them together. And I'll edit out the done as much as possible. Because yeah, in all fairness, that was like, I remember being so upset going, seriously, you're going to go home? At least Laura's willing to stay here with us.
Dude, of course Laura.
Laura was super excited, and then she was really upset when he came back and then would not let her stay, and she had to call and have Jason come pick her up.
Wow.
The donor!
So how did you discover you were pregnant? Just through missed periods, being regular?
Yeah, because I used to have to go to the old, scary, creepy Planned Parenthood, which is actually, I think, the same location as the brand new one that I go to now, but it was, but you had to get, like, security buzzed in, and it was very sketchy at the time. And they were mailing me my follow-up pill packs, so I wouldn't have to drive into town to get them, which was great for me because I didn't have the gas money and we were doing the coffee shop thing. And the pill pack showed up a day after it was supposed to start them, but I didn't think, and I took them, and then by the end of that month, when it was time for my period, because I still did my period weeks and no period happened, I'm like, fuck. And then I was like, no way, I only missed one. Just by 1 day. It was the start of the pack, it should be fine. And then I was like, another week went by, and I'm like, shit. No offense, but it wasn't, I wasn't planning it. But once I accepted it was happening, I made it, I went and got my prenatals months before I ever saw a doctor, and iron pills, actually.
Did you have morning sickness at all?
Never. I didn't have morning sickness. I did not tear during delivery. I mean, it couldn't have gone... No Braxton Hicks. It couldn't have been a smoother pregnancy. And then when people later were like, why didn't you have more? I'm like, why do you tempt fate that way? It gave me perfect. Why would I screw that up and do it again?
Yeah.
And then this, of course, once we started being able to see Sam, I'd be like, look, I got 2 for 1. I got 2 kids. I only had to do that miserable crap one time.
That's pretty good.
Easiest pregnancy. You're welcome.
Well, I was in great shape. I gained a total of, including baby and fluids from baby, 40 pounds.
That's not much at all.
And they were very worried. They would measure her every time I came in.
And she, how big was she when she was born?
6 pounds, 7 ounces.
So 7.
4 years old, it's all.
You were a
You were a
teenager.
single-hander. I know because I did a lot of work this way initially in our place, cleaning and packing and moving. And then ice storm happened, of course, like 2 months old. Which I was so grateful you were breastfed. Because it was so cold, and I just sat there and I'd open my shirt and put her inside and wrap the blanket and go,
Body heat.
it's effing cold, but she's going to be fine.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, because Daryl's family, they were staying in an old apartment downtown, and so they had to come stay with us because the elevator broke and the stairs were all narrow and
It was all dark.
Yeah, in the crickety old building anyway.
That'd be
it was
scary.
So cold and scary, yeah. So they came and crashed in our living room floor until the power came back on in town.
Oh yeah, it was quite a while.
Everyone else, like Laura, Ryan, Jason, a bunch of their friends were at the Buffalo House because there was a fireplace there. I mean, you did. You started going, who do I know with a fireplace? Because